When you think about the bleeding edge of artificial intelligence, a very specific image usually pops into your head,
Oh,
right?
yeah, absolutely. You're probably picturing like sterile, climate-controlled server farms down in Silicon Valley.
Exactly. Glowing blue lights, fiber optic cables running under raised floors, maybe some data scientists drinking, I don't know, artisanal cold brew while writing thousands of lines of Python code.
Yeah, it's a very clean, almost clinical environment that we usually associate with AI.
It is. But today, we're asking you to step out of that pristine lab and step into the world of asphalt maintenance.
Right. We're talking heavy machinery, specialized chemical aggregates, steel-toed work boots.
And just that intense, inescapable smell of hot tar on a really humid afternoon,
Yeah.
suddenly that sterile picture of AI just completely shatters.
Because the technological landscape we're looking at today is literally covered in dirt and grit. It's this fascinating intersection of blue-collar craftsmanship and high-tech infrastructure.
And it's happening right beneath our tires. So, okay, let's unpack this. Our source stack for today's deep dive is honestly one of the most unique collections of artifacts we've ever analyzed.
It really is. No academic papers or polished press releases this time around.
No, we've got a collection of backend URLs, digital blueprints, and portal access points for a company called Diamond Sealcoat.
Specifically, we're looking at an assistant development blueprint operating on the Abacus.ai platform.
Right, along with a digital access portal and a knowledge repository. So the mission for you and me today is to deconstruct these artifacts. We want to understand how a regional physical service business one focused on protecting and maintaining asphalt in the Portland metro area is systematically translating its hands-on expertise into a cutting-edge artificial intelligence ecosystem.
Which, I mean, that is a monumental task. Taking tacit experiential knowledge that kind of veteran contractor just feels in their bones after 20 years on the job and codifying it so a machine can actually understand and execute it.
It's the ultimate irony, right? Using these incredibly advanced machine learning notebooks to master the gritty physical reality of, like, filling cracks in a driveway.
Yeah, it's wild.
So let's start right at the foundation. The first major clue we have in our stack is the existence of the Diamond Sealcoating repository. But wait, I mean, asphalt is literally just rocks and oil.
Right.
Why does a guy pouring tar need an enterprise-grade digital repository? Isn't this just basic trade knowledge? You hire a crew, they learn how the mixture feels, and they pass it down. Why go through all the effort to build a massive digital database for driveway repair?
Well, if you think it's just pouring tar, you're exactly the reason parking lots fail in 3 years instead of 30.
Ouch. Fair enough.
No, but seriously, that assumption is exactly why this repository is so necessary. Asphalt is highly engineered. It's a composite material. It consists of aggregate, which is your crushed rock, gravel, and sand, and a binder.
And the binder is the oil part.
Yeah, the asphalt cement, or bitumen. Bitumen is the glue holding it all together. It's this really complex mixture of heavy, long-chain hydrocarbons.
Right.
And from the very moment it's laid down and rolled flat, it is under constant microscopic attack.
Attack from what? Like the cars driving on it?
The cars are actually secondary. I mean, they cause wear, sure, but the primary attacker is the sun.
Wait, the sun. Really?
Oh, absolutely. The moment that surface is exposed to the elements, ultraviolet radiation begins this intense chemical degradation process. UV rays actually possess enough energy to break the molecular bonds within those hydrocarbon chains in the bitumen.
Wow. So it's breaking down the glue at a molecular level.
Exactly. This process is called oxidation.
So the sun is literally baking the flexibility out of the glue.
It's chemically altering it, yeah.
Hmm.
As the bitumen oxidizes, the lighter oils inside it evaporate, and the surface loses its elasticity. It goes from being this flexible, resilient pavement that can kind of microbend under the weight of a delivery truck.
To becoming highly brittle.
Right. And you can actually see this happening with your own eyes. The asphalt turns from that rich, oily black color to a dull, faded gray. And when it becomes brittle, it cracks under that exact same weight.
I see. So if we look at asphalt as something organic, almost like human skin, when you're out in the sun, your skin dries out, it loses elasticity, and eventually it cracks.
That's a great way to think about it.
So seal coating then is basically like applying a heavy-duty industrial-grade SPF moisturizer.
Yeah, exactly.
It locks the essential oils inside the asphalt while putting up a physical shield against the UV rays.
That's a really strong functional analogy, but unlike just slapping on some sunscreen, the formulation of a seal coat emulsion is incredibly delicate. And this is where we get back to your original question about the repository.
Right, the digital brain.
Let's say Black Diamond has, I don't know, 5 different crews operating across Portland on any given Tuesday. If the knowledge of how to mix and apply that seal coat only lives in the heads of 5 different crew foremen, you are inherently going to get 5 slightly different applications.
Because human variables get introduced. I mean, one foreman might think, oh, it's a little hotter today. I'll thin the mix with more water so it spreads faster.
Exactly. And if he adds, say, 5% too much water, the solid content of the emulsion drops below the critical threshold required to actually form a protective film.
Oh, wow. So it looks fine, but it's fundamentally weak.
Right. The seal coat will dry, sure, but it will wear off in 6 months instead of lasting 3 years. Or, maybe another crew rushes the curing time because they're behind schedule for the day.
Which is an easy mistake to make on a busy day.
To scale a physical business like this and maintain absolute unwavering consistency, that tacit knowledge has to be centralized. The repository stores the exact chemical dilution ratios based on ambient temperature. It stores the optimal squeegee pressure. It dictates precise curing times based on relative humidity.
Okay, so you are building a digital brain of standardized rules.
Yeah.
But why a digital repository specifically? I mean, if they just printed out a rule book, put it in a binder, and handed it to the crews, wouldn't that solve the consistency problem?
Well, because a printed rulebook can't be queried by an artificial intelligence.
Ah, there it is.
Right. If you are going to build a dynamic automated system, which we can clearly see they are doing with this abacus.ai blueprint, the AI needs structured, accessible data to learn from.
So the repository isn't just a filing cabinet for management. It's literally the training ground for the digital assistant.
Exactly. And to understand why a dynamic AI is even necessary, instead of just, a static rulebook on a website, we have to look at the specific environment they are operating in, because context is everything here.
You mean the Portland metro area?
Yes. The geography completely dictates the parameters of the data stored in that repository. What's fascinating here is how the local climate dictates operational reality. Portland is renowned for its specific meteorological pattern.
Right, the rain.
Significant sustained rainfall for a large portion of the year. You have very distinct wet and dry seasons and these wildly fluctuating temperatures during the spring and fall shoulder seasons.
Let's dig into that, actually, because water is the nemesis of asphalt. Right. Like if the sun causes the cracking, the water is what delivers the fatal blow.
Water is devastating. Absolute nemesis. Once oxidation creates those micro cracks you mentioned, water finds its way in. If you want to understand the physics of pavement failure, just look at a freeze-thaw cycle.
Okay, walk us through it.
So water enters a hairline fracture during a rainstorm. Overnight, the temperature drops below freezing. When water freezes into ice, it expands in volume by about 9%.
9%. I mean, that doesn't sound like much until it's trapped inside a rigid material.
It generates immense hydrostatic pressure. It literally forces the asphalt apart from the inside out.
Wow.
Then the sun comes up, the ice melts, the water seeps even deeper into the newly widened crack, and the next freeze expands it even further. It's a vicious cycle.
But Portland doesn't freeze that often, does it?
No, but even without freezing, water is a destroyer. If it seeps completely through the asphalt layer and reaches the base, which is the compacted crushed gravel foundation underneath, it can wash away the fines.
The fines?
Yeah, the small particles of sand and dirt that lock the larger rocks together in the foundation.
Oh, I see. So if those get washed out, you just have loose rocks down there.
Which completely compromises the structural integrity of the entire foundation. The asphalt on top no longer has a solid base to rest on.
And that leads to what? Potholes?
That leads to depressions, yeah. And alligator cracking.
Alligator cracking.
Yeah, it looks exactly like the scales on an alligator's back. Just a network of interconnected cracks. And ultimately, yes, massive potholes.
So Black Diamond's operation in Portland isn't just about making driveways look pretty and black again.
Not at all. It's a highly specialized structural defense mechanism against a very hostile climate. The chemical mix they use has to be resilient enough to handle sheer volumes of water, yet flexible enough to survive the temperature swings without snapping.
Okay, but if the margin of error is that tight and the weather is that hostile, how does a human dispatcher even cope with the scheduling? I mean, I imagine seal coating requires bone-dry conditions to cure. You can't just spray an emulsion on a driveway while it's raining,
You
right?
absolutely cannot. Seal coat is typically a water-based emulsion. It's refined coal tar or asphalt cement mixed with clay, fillers, and sand. For it to cure and bond to the pavement, the water in the emulsion has to evaporate.
Right.
If it rains before that evaporation is complete, the rain simply washes the emulsion away. It runs right off the driveway and straight into the storm drain.
Which is a disaster. It's a total loss of materials, labor, and obviously a massive environmental hazard.
Exactly. So their entire operation is essentially a race against the Portland rain.
Imagine you're a property manager in Portland, right? You're trying to book a seal coat job in late October. You know the heavy winter rains are coming. You call a traditional contractor. They pencil you in for next Thursday.
Seems simple enough.
But then, Wednesday night, an atmospheric river rolls in off the Pacific. Now the contractor has to cancel. But wait, next week looks wet too. Meanwhile, the dispatcher for that paving company is fielding 50 other calls from anxious clients in the exact same boat.
The logistical complexity becomes staggering for a human being. Your scheduling is entirely dependent on dynamic, highly localized weather variables. You have to factor in ambient temperature. It usually needs to be above 50 degrees Fahrenheit and rising for proper curing.
Right.
You have to factor in relative humidity because high humidity slows down evaporation. You even have to factor in cloud cover because direct sunlight speeds up the pavement's surface temperature.
So a standard calendar application like just picking a date on Google Calendar completely fails in this environment.
It's useless.
Which explains the existence of our next document.
Humans just can't mentally calculate a dynamic, weather-dependent, multi-crew calendar across hundreds of clients without eventually dropping the ball.
No, they can't. So Black Diamond didn't just build a database of rules. They built a system to process the logic for them. Let's dive into the technical back end of this. We are looking at an assistant development blueprint, and it's hosted on the domain abacus.ai.
Right. This is where we transition from static data to active intelligence. Abacus.ai is an enterprise AI platform. It's not, a simple chatbot widget you just plug into a WordPress site.
Way heavier than that.
Oh, yeah. It is an environment designed for data scientists and developers to train, test, and deploy complex machine learning models, specifically large language models, or LLMs.
Now, the URL provided in the sources is pretty dense. It mentions a notebook metaservice, a deployment head, and a Canva name titled Black Diamond Sealcoat Assistant Chatbot Creation.
Yep.
For someone listening who isn't a software engineer, what exactly is a notebook in this context? Because to me, it sounds like a spiral-bound pad of paper.
Fair question. In data science, a notebook, often referring to a Jupyter notebook, is essentially a digital laboratory. It's an interactive computing environment where a developer can write a block of code, usually in Python.
Okay.
And they can execute just that specific block of code and immediately see the result right below it. It allows you to weave together code, narrative text explaining what you're doing, and raw data visualizations all in one single document.
So it's not just a finished script running hidden in the background on a server somewhere.
Yeah.
It's a literal workspace where they are actively experimenting and training the AI.
Exactly. The notebook is where the developers at Black Diamond are writing the logic that connects their chosen LLM to their proprietary knowledge repository we talked about.
And how do they make that connection?
The way they do this is likely through a mechanism called RAG, that's RAG, or Retrieval Augmented Generation.
Okay, let's walk through how RAG works. Because an LLM out of the box if you just go use a standard version of ChatGPT or Claude, it might know general facts about asphalt from the internet. But it definitely doesn't know Black Diamond's specific dilution ratios for a 60-degree day in Portland.
Right. An off-the-shelf LLM is trained on the broad, messy internet. It will hallucinate or it'll just give generic, often incorrect advice for highly specific local trades. Our RAG solves this hallucination problem.
Ow.
Imagine the Black Diamond repository, all those PDFs, technical specs, and standard operating procedures is a massive physical library.
Okay, I'm picturing a big library.
When you feed all those documents into the abacus.ai system, it uses an algorithm to convert all that text into numbers, specifically high-dimensional vectors.
Wait, vectors? Like from high school physics?
Similar concept, yeah. It essentially maps out the semantic meaning of every single sentence and places it into a fast mathematical space. So, sentences about curing times are clustered together over in this corner. Sentences about crack filler are clustered together somewhere else. This is stored in what's called a vector database.
So it literally translates human trade knowledge into math.
Precisely. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. When a customer interacts with the chatbot and asks, say, how long until I can drive on my new seal coat, the RG system intercepts that
It
question.
doesn't just let the LLM guess.
No, it converts the customer's question into a vector, goes into that mathematical library we built, and searches for the closest matching data points.
Oh, wow.
It retrieves the highly specific paragraph from Black Diamond's repository that says, for residential driveways in the Portland area at 65 degrees require 24 hours of curing.
And then it feeds that specific paragraph to the LLM.
Yes. It essentially whispers to the AI, answer the customer's question, but strictly use only this paragraph I just handed you. That is retrieval augmented generation.
That is brilliant. It restricts the AI to only speaking the absolute truth of the repository. It prevents hallucinations and ensures the advice perfectly aligns with the company's localized standards.
It's the ultimate quality control at the customer service level.
I love that.
Okay.
But I still have a major conceptual hurdle here. I mean, I can completely understand an AI referencing a manual to answer FAQs about curing times. That makes sense.
Sure.
But the blueprint is titled Seal Coat Assistant. In the physical trades, quoting a job requires a site inspection. Can an AI really advise a property manager on a heavily cracked parking lot without a human being physically standing on that asphalt and looking at it? Doesn't assessing structural damage require human eyes?
Historically, yeah, absolutely. A contractor had to burn an hour driving across Portland in terrible traffic, walk the property with a measuring wheel, look at the degradation visually, and manually write up a quote. But let's look at how AI bridges that gap, starting with intelligent triage.
Triage, like in a hospital.
Exactly. Think about how a doctor diagnoses an illness remotely on a telehealth call.
Right, they ask a cascading series of structured questions.
Yeah.
Does your throat hurt? Yes. Do you have a fever? No.
Exactly. The AI acts as an expert triage engineer. Instead of a passive web form on a website that just asks, describe your problem, the AI engages the customer dynamically. Based on the ARJ system, it knows exactly what variables dictate a quote. So it asks the customer, are the cracks in your driveway wider than 1/4 of an inch?
Why a 1/4 inch specifically?
Because that's a critical threshold in asphalt maintenance. A crack narrower than 1/4 inch might just be a surface fracture that the standard seal coat emulsion can bridge and fill on its own. But if it's wider than 1/4 inch, it requires a specialized hot pour rubberized crack sealant to be applied before the seal coat can even go down.
So if the customer types in, yes, they are wider, the AI immediately alters the quoting logic in the background to include the linear footage of hot pour crack routing.
Yes. And then the AI might ask a follow-up. If you drop a pencil into the crack, does it go all the way down or does it start near the surface? This assesses the depth.
Oh, that's clever.
Right. If the pencil goes all the way down to the base gravel, the AI knows the structural integrity is compromised and simple crack filler might just fail. It guides the customer through a self-inspection.
But come on, customers are notoriously bad at self-reporting. I mean, a homeowner might look at a massive structural failure and think, oh, it's just a little crack. Can the AI handle visual data? Can it actually, look at the driveway?
Yes, it can. And this is where the Abacus.ai platform becomes incredibly powerful.
Yeah.
We can confidently speculate that this assistant integrates computer vision. Yeah. The AI could prompt the customer, please upload 3 photos of your driveway from different angles and 1 close-up of the most damaged area.
But how does an AI process a photo of asphalt? Does it just look for gray versus black pixels?
It's way more advanced than that. It uses convolutional neural networks, or CNNs. When a customer uploads a photo, the AI breaks the image down into a grid of pixels. It runs algorithms called edge detectors, which look for sharp contrasts in pixel intensity.
Because a crack is basically a shadow.
Exactly. A crack in asphalt usually appears as a dark, jagged line against a lighter gray background. The CNN is trained on thousands of images from the repository of both healthy and damaged asphalt.
So it mathematically maps the edges of the damage based on the photo.
It identifies the pixel patterns that correspond to alligator cracking versus linear cracking. It can even estimate the width of the cracks by comparing the pixel distance across the dark gap relative to the known resolution of the image.
That is just wild.
Yeah.
So the AI looks at a photo taken on an iPhone and essentially calculates, based on pixel contrast, I detect 45 linear feet of 1/4 inch cracking and localized structural failure indicative of subbase washout.
Yep. It provides a preliminary diagnostic based strictly on the physics of the photo matched against the repository's rules. Now, it might still require a human sign-off before a massive commercial crew is deployed with heavy machinery.
Sure.
But consider the efficiency gain here. The contractor didn't drive an hour just to tell a homeowner their driveway is beyond saving and needs a total repave. The AI handled the preliminary assessment instantly. The human estimators are freed up to focus only on complex, high-value commercial bids.
Okay, so they have built this incredibly sophisticated AI in a data science notebook.
Yeah.
They connected it to a massive vector database of asphalt chemistry and Portland weather logic.
Okay.
They've trained it to interpret images of cracks. But having a genius AI locked in a back-end server doesn't help the homeowner whose driveway is actively falling apart. The intelligence has to be accessible to the public. Which brings us to the final piece of our source stack, the digital access portal.
The transition from the back-end laboratory to the front-end user experience. The URL we have is blackdiamond-sealco-vpirch.abacusei.app. This is the application layer.
Now, why call it an access portal instead of just a website? I mean,
Why?
every paving company has a website with a contact form.
Because a website is a static broadcast medium. It's essentially a digital brochure. You read the About Us page, you fill out a form, you click Submit, and then the process just stops. You wait for an email back.
Right, it's a dead end.
A portal, on the other hand, implies a stateful, secure, two-way interaction. It usually requires authentication. It is a personalized digital environment where the customer and the business logic interact in real time.
So the portal is the user interface for the AI assistant we were just talking about.
Exactly. When a customer in Portland logs into this portal, they aren't just reading about seal coating. They are directly interfacing with the RG-enabled LLM. And this is where we see the integration of external APIs, which fundamentally changes the business model from reactive to proactive.
Let's break down that API integration, especially regarding the weather constraints we discussed earlier. How does an AI in a portal actually manage the scheduling nightmare of Portland rain?
Well, an API, or application programming interface, is just how different software systems talk to each other. In this portal, the Abacus.ai system would be hooked into a hyperlocal meteorological API, perhaps NOAA, or a commercial weather service.
What does that conversation between the AI and the weather service actually look like?
When a customer is in the portal and reaches the point of wanting to schedule a seal coat job, the AI sends a request to the weather API for that specific zip code. And it doesn't just ask, hey, is it going to rain?
Right, it needs hard data.
It requests a raw data payload, usually in a format called JSON. This JSON file contains highly specific data arrays, predicted hourly rainfall in millimeters, relative humidity percentages, and surface temperature forecasts for the next 14 days.
So it gets this massive, invisible spreadsheet of numbers back.
Right. The AI takes that JSON data and runs it through the operational logic stored in its repository. The logic says, condition A. If precipitation probability is greater than 15% within 48 hours of application time, block schedule. Condition B. If ambient temperature is less than 50 degrees Fahrenheit, block schedule.
It mathematically evaluates the weather forecast against the chemistry of the curing process.
Exactly. And it does this instantly. So the portal doesn't present the customer with a traditional calendar where they just blindly pick a Tuesday. The portal dynamically generates available time slots based only on the intersections of crew availability and guaranteed dry, warm weather windows.
That is a total paradigm shift for the customer experience. Instead of the traditional friction calling, leaving a voicemail over the sound of a skid steer in the background, waiting days for a callback, having a guy drive by with a clipboard, and then playing calendar Tetris when it inevitably rains.
Right, which everyone hates.
The customer logs in, answers the AI's triage questions, uploads a photo from their phone, gets a mathematically backed estimate, and schedules a bulletproof time slot based on real-time meteorological API data.
It reduces the customer acquisition timeline from a week and a half down to about 5 minutes.
That's incredible.
But the implications for the B2B side for commercial property managers are actually even more profound.
Oh, I can imagine. Imagine you manage a portfolio of like 20 different retail strip malls across the Portland metro area. That is millions of square feet of asphalt under your control. The administrative burden of manually tracking the maintenance of that pavement is immense.
It's a full-time job.
You're tracking different paving dates, different wear and tear rates based on traffic volume, different budgets for every single location.
Usually, property managers operate reactively. A tenant complains about a massive pothole that blew out a tire, and the manager scrambles to hire a contractor for an emergency repair.
An emergency structural repair is exorbitantly expensive, right?
Oh, incredibly. The subbase has to be excavated, new gravel brought in, compacted, and then hot mix asphalt laid down. It's disruptive and costly.
But with this portal, the model flips to predictive maintenance. Imagine logging into the Black Diamond portal. You don't just see a chat window, you see a comprehensive digital dashboard of all your properties.
Because the AI knows the history of every square foot of your pavement, it knows the exact date property A was last seal coated. It accesses historical weather data to calculate exactly how many harsh freeze-thaw cycles that specific zip code has endured since the application.
Wow.
It factors in the UV index over the last 3 summers to calculate the exact rate of bitumen oxidation.
So it calculates a customized mathematical degradation curve for your specific parking lot.
Yes. And instead of waiting for you to call with a pothole emergency, the system is proactive. The LLM triggers an automated notification to you. Alert. The asphalt at the Beaverton location has reached 85% oxidation capacity based on weather modeling.
It is highly susceptible to water intrusion this coming winter.
Exactly. We recommend scheduling a protective seal coat layer within the next 45 days. Click here to approve the generated quote and secure an optimal weather window.
That is just. That facility manager didn't have to look at a single spreadsheet. They didn't have to drive out and inspect the lot. The AI did all the administrative and diagnostic labor.
Yep.
And by acting proactively, the manager is paying a few cents per square foot for a seal coat, rather than dollars per square foot for a full structural excavation. It saves the client massive amounts of capital, and it locks in recurring revenue for Black Diamond with basically zero human sales friction.
Black Diamond is no longer just a physical service provider. They have built a digital twin of their operational expertise. The heavy machinery, the hot tar, the physical labor, none of that can be virtualized. You still need the crew.
Right, somebody has to actually pour the tar.
But the entire logistical, diagnostic, and customer service framework surrounding that physical labor has been elevated to the level of enterprise SaaS software as a service.
They are operating like a tech startup that just happens to specialize in pavement. It's brilliant. So what does this all mean for you listening? We've covered incredible ground today. We started with the harsh reality of Portland's weather, the physics of freeze-thaw cycles tearing apart oxidized bitumen.
We looked at how a company centralized the chemical logic to fight that environment into a digital repository.
We dove into the data science of Abacus.ai, unpacking how retrieval augmented generation turns an LLM into a hyper-specialized expert, and how computer vision can diagnose cracks from a smartphone photo.
And finally, we saw how API integrations in a customer portal eliminate the friction of traditional scheduling, turning reactive repairs into predictive, automated maintenance.
The overarching lesson here is that digital transformation is completely ignoring the traditional boundaries of industry. It's no longer confined to fintech or e-commerce. The most profound, disruptive applications of AI are happening right now in the physical, earthbound trades. The companies getting their hands dirty are utilizing the cleanest, most sophisticated data models to build an insurmountable competitive moat.
You don't have to be a software company to build a software ecosystem. You just have to relentlessly codify your real-world expertise.
Which leaves us looking at the horizon of local commerce. I want to leave you with this thought. As more specialized trades, from commercial plumbing and HVAC to landscaping and seal coating, digitize their master-level knowledge into custom AI architectures, the definition of a local contractor fundamentally changes.
If the baseline expectation for property managers and homeowners becomes this level of instant, predictive, algorithmically backed service, how long until traditional analog businesses are simply priced out of the market by their own inefficiency?
It suggests that in the next decade, the true competitive advantage in the physical trades won't just be the quality of the manual labor. That will be the bare minimum. The real dominance will belong to whoever possesses the smartest digital twin. Think about that the next time you see a crew out there smoothing over a driveway in the hot sun. The squeegee in their hand is physical, but the logic directing them might be entirely synthetic. Keep exploring, keep questioning, and we'll see you on the next Deep Dive.